In 2026, there are over 40 compact SUVs fighting for your money, and honestly, most of them don't deserve it. But just five, are so good they make everything else on the lot look like a participation trophy. If you're about to spend $30, $40, $50,000 and you haven't seen this list, well, your wallet's gonna hate you, and your neighbor is gonna love their car more than yours. Let's fix that.
All right, number 5 on our list is a car that most people overlook, and that's exactly why it deserves to be here. See, the automotive world has this annoying habit of only celebrating the loudest names in the room. But every once in a while, something quiet, something humble walks in and just outperforms everyone without making a scene. That's the Hyundai Kona. Think of it as that kid in school who never raised their hand, but somehow got the highest grade on every single test. Yeah, that kid. Annoying, right? But you gotta respect it. Now let me tell you why the Kona is eating the competition alive in 2026 and why most people still don't realize it. First, let's talk about what Hyundai did with this generation. They didn't just redesign it, they reimagined the entire thing from the ground up. The exterior went from looking like a quirky little crossover to something that genuinely turns heads in a parking lot. Sharp lines, a wider stance, LED lighting that wraps around the front like it means business. You park this thing next to some rivals that cost $5,000 or $10,000 more, and people will point at the Kona first. That's not opinion, that's just physics, or maybe psychology. I don't know, I'm a car guy, not a scientist. But here's where things get really interesting. Under the hood, the Kona gives you options, and good ones. You've got the naturally aspirated engine for folks who just want reliability and efficiency. Nothing fancy, just gets the job done every single day without complaining. And then there's the turbocharged option, which honestly punches way above its weight class. We're talking responsive acceleration, solid passing power on the highway, and a driving experience that feels more engaging than anything in this price range has any right to feel. It's like ordering the house wine at a restaurant and finding out it's actually better than the expensive bottle at the next table. Now here's what really separates the Kona from the pack, and pay close attention because this matters more than horsepower or fancy wheels. It's the tech and the value. The infotainment system is fast, responsive, and doesn't make you want to throw your phone out the window. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto come standard, the digital instrument cluster is clean and easy to read, and the safety suite? Oh, this is where Hyundai has been quietly destroying the competition for years. We're talking lane keeping assist, forward collision avoidance, blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, and smart cruise control. And this isn't on the top trim only. Hyundai loads even the base models with safety tech that other brands charge you premium prices for. Let that sink in. The entry-level Kona is safer than some mid-trim competitors. That's not just impressive, that's almost unfair. And reliability? Let's talk about that because I know that's what keeps you up at night when you're shopping for a car. Hyundai's warranty is legendary. We're talking 5 years, 60,000 miles bumper to bumper, and 10 years, 100,000 miles on the powertrain. They're basically telling you, hey, we're so confident in this car that we'll cover it longer than most relationships last. And the data backs it up. Hyundai has consistently scored well in reliability studies, and owner satisfaction ratings have climbed with every model year. People buy this car and they keep it. That tells you everything. Interior space is another quiet win. You wouldn't expect it from the outside, but the Kona's cabin is surprisingly roomy for front passengers and perfectly adequate in the rear for everyday use. Cargo space is competitive, and with the rear seats folded, you've got a genuinely usable area for weekend trips, grocery hauls, or that impulse furniture purchase you're definitely going to regret on Monday. But now, real talk, because I'm not here to just hype things up. I'm here to help you make a smart decision. There are a couple of things you need to watch out for. First, if you go with the base engine, don't expect to be thrilled on steep highway merges or mountain roads. It's efficient and reliable, yes, but it's not going to pin you back in your seat. If driving excitement matters to you, go for the turbo. It's worth the upgrade. Second, the rear seat space, while decent, is not the roomiest in the segment. If you regularly carry tall adults in the back, test it before you commit. And third, depending on where you are, dealer markups can still be a thing with popular trims, so do your homework, shop around, and never, I repeat, never pay over sticker just because a salesperson tells you this is the last one. There's always another one, always. So, why is the Hyundai Kona on this list? Because it delivers more car, more tech, more safety, and more peace of mind for less money than almost anything else in the compact SUV segment. It's the definition of punching above its weight class. And if you're the kind of buyer who cares about substance over hype, this car was literally built for you. But don't get too comfortable with number 5, because what's coming next on this list, it makes the decision even harder.
Now, if the Kona was the quiet overachiever nobody expected, number 4 on this list is the exact opposite. Everybody knows this car. Your mom knows this car, your dentist drives this car, your real estate agent definitely drives this car. And there's a reason for that, a very, very good reason. This is the Honda CR-V, and calling it popular doesn't even begin to cover it. This thing isn't just a bestseller, it's practically a cultural institution at this point. If compact SUVs had a Hall of Fame, the CR-V wouldn't just be inducted, it would have its own wing with a gift shop and a cafe. But here's the thing most people get wrong. They assume the CR-V is successful just because of its name, just because of momentum, like people keep buying it out of habit. And honestly, that couldn't be further from the truth. The CR-V keeps winning because Honda refuses to let it get lazy. Every generation gets sharper, smarter, and more refined, and the current one might be the best thing Honda's ever done in this segment. Bold statement? Sure, but stick with me for the next couple of minutes and try to prove me wrong. Let's start with the way this thing drives, because that's where Honda's engineering DNA really shows up. The CR-V has this almost magical ability to feel like a smaller car when you're behind the wheel. The steering is precise without being twitchy, the ride is composed without being stiff, and there's this sense of confidence in every lane change and every corner that most competitors simply cannot match. It's not trying to be sporty, it's not pretending to be a performance vehicle, it's just competent in a way that makes you trust it immediately. You know that friend who's calm in every situation, never panics, always knows what to do? That's the CR-V on the road. Boring? Maybe. Reassuring? Absolutely. Now, under the hood, this is where things get genuinely exciting. And yes, I just used the word exciting about a CR-V. Deal with it. The hybrid powertrain is the real star here. It's smooth, it's responsive, and the fuel efficiency numbers are the kind of thing that makes your accountants smile. We're talking real-world figures that genuinely compete with some dedicated hybrid vehicles, and you're getting that in a spacious, practical SUV that doesn't look like it's trying to save the planet by sacrificing everything fun about driving. Honda figured out something that a lot of manufacturers still struggle with, which is how to make a hybrid feel natural. There's no weird rubber band effect, no awkward hesitation between electric and gas power. It just works, seamlessly, quietly, almost invisibly. And that right there is the mark of great engineering, when you forget the technology is even there. Interior space, and this is a big one. The CR-V is an absolute monster for its class. Front passengers get a cabin that feels genuinely airy and open. Rear passengers get legroom that'll make them think they accidentally got into a mid-size SUV. And the cargo area is flat out one of the best in the entire segment. Whether you're loading up for a camping trip, hauling sports equipment, or fitting that ridiculously oversized thing you just bought online because it looked smaller in the picture, the CR-V handles it without breaking a sweat. It's the kind of practical that doesn't need to brag because the space speaks for itself the moment you open the tailgate. On the tech side, Honda stepped up in a big way. The infotainment is cleaner and more intuitive than previous generations. The physical controls are still there for the stuff you use most, which thank you Honda for not putting my climate controls inside a touchscreen like some kind of punishment. And the Honda Sensing Safety Suite continues to be one of the most complete packages in the industry. Adaptive cruise, lane keeping, collision mitigation, traffic sign recognition, it's all there, and it all works with a level of refinement that shows Honda's been doing this a long time and getting better at it every year. Reliability, and this is the chapter where Honda basically writes the textbook. The CR-V has decades of proven dependability behind it. Decades. This is a vehicle that routinely shows up in lists of cars that last well beyond 200,000 miles with basic maintenance. Resale value is exceptional, which means even when you eventually decide to move on, the CR-V pays you back in ways that most competitors simply cannot. You're not just buying a car, you're buying an asset that holds its worth like almost nothing else in the segment. But let me keep it honest with you, because that's what this channel is about. There are a few things you need to know before signing. First, the base non-hybrid engine, while perfectly fine, feels a little underwhelming compared to the hybrid. If the budget allows, the hybrid is the one to get. It's better in almost every measurable way. Second, road noise on the highway can be slightly more noticeable than some rivals, particularly on rougher surfaces. It's not a deal breaker, but if you're coming from something with luxury-level insulation, you might notice it. And third, popularity has a downside. The CR-V is one of the most stolen vehicles on the road, so make sure your insurance is solid and invest in anti-theft measures. It's not Honda's fault their car is so good that even criminals have great taste, but it's something you need to factor in. So, why is the CR-V sitting at number 4? Because it does everything well and most things better than anyone else. It's practical without being boring, efficient without being compromised, reliable without being outdated, and spacious without being oversized. It's the benchmark for a reason, and in 2026, that reason is stronger than ever. But we're only halfway through this list, and what's coming next? Let's just say the competition is about to get a whole lot more intense.
Okay, so we just talked about a car that your dentist drives and your real estate agent swears by. Now, number 3 on this list. This one's for a completely different breed of person. This is the car for the guy who has a kayak on his roof on a Tuesday for absolutely no reason. This is for the woman whose idea of a relaxing weekend involves a trail that Google Maps doesn't even acknowledge exists. This is the Subaru Crosstrek, and if every other compact SUV in this segment is pretending to be rugged, this one actually laced up its boots and showed up to the trail at 6 in the morning while everyone else was still sleeping. Now here's what I need you to understand right away, and this is the thing that most reviewers completely miss when they talk about the Crosstrek. This car was never designed to win a drag race. It was never designed to have the flashiest interior or the most Instagram-worthy dashboard. It was designed to go where other compact SUVs wouldn't dare, and to do it every single day without complaining, without drama, and without a $40,000 price tag attached to it. And that philosophy, that honest, no-nonsense approach to building a vehicle, is exactly why the Crosstrek has one of the most loyal followings in the entire automotive world. Crosstrek owners don't just like their car, they evangelize it. They're basically a fan base at this point. If the Crosstrek had a concert, these people would be in the front row with face paint. So let's talk about the thing that makes this Subaru fundamentally different from everything else on this list, and that's symmetrical all-wheel drive. Now I know what you're thinking, lots of cars have all-wheel drive. What's the big deal? And you'd be right, lots of cars do offer it. But here's the distinction. Most competitors treat all-wheel drive as an add-on, an option, an afterthought bolted onto a platform that was originally designed to send power to the front wheels. Subaru doesn't do that. Every single Crosstrek rolls off the factory floor with symmetrical all-wheel drive as standard. It's not optional, it's not an upgrade, it's the foundation of the entire vehicle. The system distributes power evenly to all 4 wheels at all times, which means whether you're driving through a snow-covered highway, a muddy forest road, or a rain-soaked city street, the Crosstrek grips the surface beneath it like it has a personal grudge against losing traction. You feel the difference the first time the weather gets ugly. While other drivers are white-knuckling their steering wheels and praying to whatever deity they prefer, you're just casually driving through it, wondering what all the fuss is about. And then there's the ground clearance. At 8.7 inches, the Crosstrek sits higher than nearly everything in its class. That might not sound like a headline, but in the real world, that extra clearance is the difference between confidently clearing a rocky path and hearing that horrible scraping sound that makes your stomach drop and your bank account cry. This car was engineered for people who actually leave the pavement, not people who just want their car to look like it could. The Boxer engine, and this is a Subaru signature, sits flat and low in the chassis, which gives the Crosstrek a lower center of gravity than virtually any competitor. What does that mean for you? It means the car feels planted in corners, stable at highway speeds, and composed in a way that defies its relatively tall ride height. It's a subtle thing, the kind of engineering advantage you don't notice until you drive something else and suddenly realize how much more the other car leans and sways. Subaru has been perfecting this layout for decades, and the Crosstrek is the purest expression of that philosophy in their current lineup. Reliability is another cornerstone of the Crosstrek story. Subaru owners are famous for keeping their vehicles for years and years, racking up enormous mileage without major issues, and the Crosstrek continues that tradition beautifully. It consistently earns strong marks in long-term dependability studies, and the resale value reflects that confidence.
People trust this car with their weekends, their commutes, their road trips, and their family adventures because it has earned that trust over generations of ownership. This isn't marketing talk, it's data backed by hundreds of thousands of real owners who put real miles on real roads. The safety credentials are equally impressive. Subaru's EyeSight driver assist technology has been refined over multiple generations, and it remains one of the most effective and least intrusive systems you can get. Pre-collision braking, adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, it all works together in a way that feels like a safety net rather than a nanny. And the Crosstrek's structural design has earned top marks in crash testing because Subaru takes protecting its occupants as seriously as it takes getting them to the trailhead. Now here comes the honesty portion of the program because I respect you too much to leave things out. The Subaru Crosstrek's base engine is not powerful. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you're merging onto a fast highway or trying to pass a truck on a two-lane road, you're going to wish for more grunt. The available upgraded powertrain helps, and I'd strongly recommend you look into it if your driving involves anything beyond flat city streets. Second, the interior materials, while improved, still trails some competitors in terms of premium feel. It's durable and well laid out, absolutely, but if you're coming from something with soft touch everything and ambient lighting, you'll notice the difference. Third, infotainment. Subaru has made significant progress here, but the system can still feel a half step behind the best in class. It does what it needs to do, but it won't wow you the way some rivals will. So why does the Subaru Crosstrek earn the number 3 spot on a list this competitive? Because no other compact SUV at this price delivers this combination of genuine capability, proven reliability, standard all-wheel drive, and real-world readiness for whatever life throws at you. It's not trying to impress you with gimmicks, it's trying to earn your trust by being exactly what it promises to be every single day in every condition. And in a market full of cars pretending to be adventurous, the Crosstrek is the one that actually means it. But hold on tight, because the top 2 on this list are about to raise the stakes in ways you might not expect.
Alright, so we've gone through a quiet overachiever, a cultural institution, and an actual trail warrior. Now, number 2 on this list is going to surprise a lot of you, and I mean genuinely surprise you, because this is a car that doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves in the compact SUV conversation. And honestly, that lack of attention might be the single greatest advantage you as a buyer could ever ask for. This is the Volkswagen Taos, and before you scroll to the comments to tell me I'm crazy, give me 3 minutes, just 3, because by the end of this, you're going to look at this vehicle very, very differently. See, there's a fascinating thing that happens in the automotive world when a brand is known for one iconic model. Everything else in the lineup gets overshadowed. Volkswagen has the Golf, the Tiguan, the ID lineup going electric, and somewhere in between all of that noise, the Taos quietly showed up and started doing things that nobody was paying attention to. It's like being the middle child in a family of overachievers. Nobody's writing articles about you, nobody's putting you on magazine covers, but meanwhile, you're in the corner building something genuinely impressive while everyone else fights for the spotlight. And that, my friends, is the Taos in a nutshell. Let's start with the thing that hits you the moment you open the door, because this is where the Taos pulls off its greatest magic trick. The interior space in this vehicle is absolutely deceptive. From the outside, the Taos looks compact, modest, almost humble in its proportions, but sit inside and suddenly you're swimming in room. The front seats have the kind of legroom and headroom that makes you double-check you didn't accidentally get into a Tiguan. The rear seat is genuinely usable for adults, not that awkward apology of a back seat where your knees are touching the front seat back and you're silently reconsidering your friendship with whoever invited you on this road trip. No, the Taos gives real space to real humans in all 4 seats, and the cargo area behind them is flat, wide, and deep enough to swallow a week's worth of life without playing Tetris with your bags. Volkswagen's engineers clearly understood that people buying a compact SUV needed to actually be useful, and they delivered on that promise better than almost anyone else in this class. Now, the driving experience, and this is where the German heritage really whispers in your ear. The Taos doesn't drive like a budget crossover. It just doesn't. There's a solidity to the way it handles the road, a composed and planted feeling that comes from Volkswagen's decades of obsessing over chassis tuning and ride quality.
The steering has weight to it, not heavy, not numb, just communicative enough that you feel connected to what the front wheels are doing. Highway cruising is serene, the suspension absorbs imperfections without bouncing you around like a shopping cart with a bad wheel. And there's this overall sense of maturity to the driving dynamics that makes you forget you're in one of the most affordable compact SUVs on the market. That's the Volkswagen DNA showing up, and it's something you genuinely cannot replicate with a spec sheet or a list of features. You have to drive it to feel it, and once you do, going back to some competitors feels like downgrading from a well-tailored suit to something you grabbed off a clearance rack at 3 in the morning. The turbocharged engine under the hood is a small displacement unit that does a remarkable job of balancing efficiency with everyday drivability. It's not going to set any speed records, and that's perfectly fine because that was never the point. What it does is deliver smooth, consistent power for commuting, merging, overtaking, and everything in between. The turbo fills in the gaps where a naturally aspirated engine of similar size would leave you wanting more. And the fuel economy numbers are genuinely competitive for the segment. Your wallet and your daily commute will both thank you. Technology is another area where the Taos quietly punches above its price tag. The digital cockpit display is crisp and customizable, the infotainment system responds quickly and integrates seamlessly with your phone, and the available driver assistance features are comprehensive and refined. We're talking adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, rear traffic alert, automatic emergency braking, all the stuff that should be standard in 2026 and in the Taos is accessible without forcing you into the most expensive trim. Volkswagen clearly studied what buyers actually use every day and made sure those features were present and functional, not buried behind option packages designed to inflate the final price. Now let's talk about something that matters to every single person watching this, and that's value. The Taos occupies this brilliant sweet spot in the market, where you're getting a vehicle that feels, drives, and looks more expensive than it actually is. The gap between what you pay and what you perceive you're getting is wider with the Taos than almost any other compact SUV out there right now. And that gap, that's where smart buyers live. That's where you stretch your dollar further without compromising on the experience of actually owning and driving the car every day. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you the whole story, so here's what you need to keep your eyes on. First, the automatic transmission, particularly in the front-wheel drive configuration, can feel a bit hesitant at low speeds. There's an occasional jerkiness during stop-and-go traffic that, while not terrible, is noticeable if you're paying attention. The all-wheel drive variant uses a different transmission setup that smooths this out considerably, so test both before deciding. Second, while the base engine is perfectly adequate, if you live somewhere with steep terrain or you frequently drive fully loaded with passengers and cargo, you'll feel the limitations of that smaller displacement. It's a trade-off for the excellent fuel economy, and it's one you should experience firsthand before committing. Third, Volkswagen's reputation for long-term reliability has improved dramatically in recent years, but it still doesn't carry the same bulletproof perception as some Japanese competitors. Maintenance costs can be slightly higher, and finding a dealer network that's convenient depends on where you live, so factor that into your ownership equation. So, why does the Volkswagen Taos earn the number 2 spot on a list filled with incredible vehicles? Because it represents the smartest way to spend your money in this segment right now. It gives you European engineering, surprising interior space, a refined driving experience, and a level of everyday sophistication that most competitors at this price simply cannot match. The Taos doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need a flashy campaign or a viral moment. It just needs you to drive it once, and after that, it sells itself. But listen, we've saved the absolute best for last, and the number 1 pick on this list, it's the one that changed the rules entirely. Stay right here.
Okay, here we are. Number 1, the top of the mountain. The car that sat patiently while we talked about 4 incredible vehicles and didn't flinch, didn't sweat, didn't even blink. Because it didn't need to. It already knew it belonged here. Ladies and gentlemen, the number 1 compact SUV that beats every rival in 2026 is the Mazda CX-30. And if you're shocked, you haven't been paying attention. But if you're nodding your head right now because you've driven one, then welcome to the club. You already know the secret that the rest of the world is still catching up to.
Here's the thing about Mazda that makes them unlike any other mainstream manufacturer on the planet. They don't build cars to sell the most units. They don't chase trends. They don't slap a bigger screen on last year's model and call it innovation. Mazda builds cars the way an Italian chef makes pasta, with obsession, with tradition, with an almost irrational commitment to getting every single detail right, even if 90% of people will never consciously notice it. And the CX-30 is the purest distillation of that philosophy, currently sitting in any showroom anywhere. This isn't just a compact SUV. This is what happens when a company decides that affordable doesn't have to mean ordinary. Let's start with the design, because honestly, we could spend this entire segment just talking about how this thing looks, and it would be time well spent. The CX-30 is, without exaggeration, one of the most beautiful vehicles in its price range, not just in the compact SUV segment, in its entire price range across all categories. Mazda's Kodo design language treats sheet metal like sculpture. The way light moves across the body panels, the way the roofline curves just enough to create a sense of motion, even when the car is standing still. The way every proportion feels intentional and deliberate, rather than designed by committee in a conference room. You park this next to competitors, and it looks like it wandered in from a segment 2 price brackets above. People will ask you what you paid for it, and they genuinely will not believe you. That moment, that little flash of disbelief on their face, that's worth the purchase alone. I'm kidding, mostly. But Mazda's brilliance isn't skin deep, and this is where the CX-30 separates itself from everything else we've discussed today. Open the door and step inside, and you're entering a cabin that has absolutely no business being this refined at this price point. The materials are soft where your hands actually touch them. The stitching is precise. The layout is clean, uncluttered, and focused entirely on the driver. There's no visual chaos, no overwhelming array of buttons and screens competing for your attention. Mazda treats the interior like a cockpit designed for a human being who actually wants to enjoy the act of driving. And that philosophy extends to the infotainment system, which is controlled primarily through a rotary dial on the center console. Now, some people will call that old-fashioned. I call it brilliant, because it means your eyes stay on the road instead of smearing fingerprints across a touchscreen trying to change a radio station at 70 miles per hour, like you're playing some kind of dangerous game of Operation. The driving experience, and I want you to lean in for this part because this is the crown jewel. The CX-30 drives like nothing else in the compact SUV world. Nothing. Mazda's engineers are famous for something they call Jinba Itai, which is a Japanese concept describing the unity between horse and rider. It sounds poetic because it is, and it translates directly into how this car communicates with you, through the steering wheel, through the pedals, through the seat, through every subtle input and feedback loop between machine and driver. The steering is precise and alive with feel. The chassis responds to your inputs with an immediacy and a fluidity that makes driving genuinely joyful, not just comfortable, but actually fun in a way that makes your daily commute something you look forward to rather than endure. No other compact SUV in 2026 delivers this sensation, not one, and I will die on that hill with a smile on my face. The Skyactiv engine lineup is naturally aspirated in its standard form, prioritizing linear power delivery and efficiency over raw turbo thrust. And for most drivers, that smoothness and predictability is exactly what daily life demands. But for those who want more, the turbocharged option transforms the CX-30 into something genuinely quick, with torque that arrives with authority and composure, rather than the frantic shove some turbo systems deliver. Either way, the powertrain feels meticulously calibrated to match the character of the car, because at Mazda, nothing exists in isolation. Everything connects. Everything serves the whole. Reliability is another chapter where Mazda has been quietly rewriting its own history. Over the past several years, Mazda has climbed to the very top of industry dependability rankings, routinely sitting alongside or above brands that have built their entire identities around lasting forever. The CX-30 benefits from this institutional commitment to quality, and owner satisfaction data consistently reflects a vehicle that people are not just keeping, but actively recommending to friends and family.
When someone risks their own reputation to tell you to buy something, that tells you everything about the product. I'm kidding, mostly. But Mazda's brilliance isn't skin deep, and this is where the CX-30 separates itself from everything else we've discussed today. Open the door and step inside, and you're entering a cabin that has absolutely no business being this refined at this price point. The materials are soft where your hands actually touch them. The stitching is precise. The layout is clean, uncluttered, and focused entirely on the driver. There's no visual chaos, no overwhelming array of buttons and screens competing for your attention. Mazda treats the interior like a cockpit designed for a human being who actually wants to enjoy the act of driving. And that philosophy extends to the infotainment system, which is controlled primarily through a rotary dial on the center console. Now, some people will call that old-fashioned. I call it brilliant, because it means your eyes stay on the road instead of smearing fingerprints across a touchscreen, trying to change a radio station at 70 miles per hour like you're playing some kind of dangerous game of Operation. The driving experience, and I want you to lean in for this part because this is the crown jewel. The CX-30 drives like nothing else in the compact SUV world. Nothing. Mazda's engineers are famous for something they call Jinba Itai, which is a Japanese concept describing the unity between horse and rider. It sounds poetic because it is, and it translates directly into how this car communicates with you, through the steering wheel, through the pedals, through the seat, through every subtle input and feedback loop between machine and driver. The steering is precise and alive with feel. The chassis responds to your inputs with an immediacy and a fluidity that makes driving genuinely joyful, not just comfortable, but actually fun in a way that makes your daily commute something you look forward to rather than endure. No other compact SUV in 2026 delivers this sensation, not one, and I will die on that hill with a smile on my face. The Skyactiv engine lineup is naturally aspirated in its standard form, prioritizing linear power delivery and efficiency over raw turbo thrust. And for most drivers, that smoothness and predictability is exactly what daily life demands. But for those who want more, the turbocharged option transforms the CX-30 into something genuinely quick, with torque that arrives with authority and composure, rather than the frantic shove some turbo systems deliver. Either way, the powertrain feels meticulously calibrated to match the character of the car, because at Mazda, nothing exists in isolation. Everything connects. Everything serves the whole. Reliability is another chapter where Mazda has been quietly rewriting its own history. Over the past several years, Mazda has climbed to the very top of industry dependability rankings, routinely sitting alongside or above brands that have built their entire identities around lasting forever. The CX-30 benefits from this institutional commitment to quality, and owner satisfaction data consistently reflects a vehicle that people are not just keeping, but actively recommending to friends and family. When someone risks their own reputation to tell you to buy something, that tells you everything about the product. So why does the CX-30 sit alone at the top of this list? Because it's the only compact SUV in 2026 that refuses to accept the limitations of its price class. It looks like a luxury vehicle, it drives like a sports sedan, it's built with the reliability of the best in the industry, and it wraps all of that in a package that respects your intelligence as a buyer. It doesn't try to distract you with gimmicks or overwhelm you with features you'll never use. It simply delivers an experience that is richer, more connected, and more rewarding than anything else in this segment. The CX-30 doesn't just beat its rivals, it makes them wonder what they've been doing wrong.
And that right there is your top 5. 5 compact SUVs that in 2026 are genuinely in a class of their own. Now here's what I need from you. If this video helped you, if it gave you clarity, if it saved you from making a $30,000 mistake, hit that subscribe button right now. Not later, not tomorrow, right now. Because we do this every single week. We cut through the noise, we skip the fluff, and we give you the information that actually matters when you're spending your hard-earned money. Drop a comment below telling me which one of these 5 you'd pick and why, because I read every single one, and those conversations are half the reason this channel exists. Share this video with someone you know who's shopping for a compact SUV right now, because trust me, they need to see this before they walk into a dealership unprepared. And if you want to see what didn't make this list and why, that video is coming soon, so turn on notifications so you don't miss it. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Drive smart, drive safe, and never let anyone sell you something you don't deserve. Peace.